Hello everyone, welcome once again to the channel. Today we sadly are checking the newest French Montana album, which is the 5th and hopefully last entry in his Mac and Cheese series, Mac and Cheese 5. Now this album was very controversial when it came out because French Montana released like 6 versions of the same album and then released another version which had all of the other versions combined. It was very weird. Then he also released every single song as a single and all of the versions of those songs as singles as well. So he basically just flooded his page, the page of the features, and it was just a mess. Nowadays he has taken out most of those versions as I was looking, but yeah, it's French Montana, which isn't very exciting. He's mostly known for sucking and for being carried by every single feature. So yeah, let's get right into it. I'm not excited at all.
With the star, ended up dropping my top. My ex told me she needed space. I guess we both going.
So technically this album only had one single, but I'm going to count it as 2 because the second one is a bit weird. But let's start with the actual single, which is the song OK featuring Lil Baby, which was produced by ATL Jacob. Now this song is just kind of an alright, pretty mid song with a banjo-like beat that sounds like it was made for the baby. Lil Baby in his verse is alright, although there are some parts where he just mumbles way too much, like it's way too mumbly. And French Montana in his verse is pretty ass as per usual, although for some reason, and this is something that will happen with other songs in the album, but songs with features will often have like additional things on the instrumental when French Montana comes in for his verse, and that is the case in here because throughout the whole song it's just like this banjo trap beat, but then when it comes to French Montana's verse it has like Mike Dean scenes on it. Like, why would you waste that on a French Montana verse? I really don't understand. But yeah, this is overall a pretty mid song. It's not awful, but not something I would go back to. And then the other single kind of, it's Millionaire Row with Rick Ross. Now why do I say this is single? Because it was released last year in the collab album by Rick Ross and Meek Mill, Too Good to Be True, and yeah, now it's in this album. And although it was in the collab album between Rick Ross and Meek Mill isn't actually on this song, it's just Rick Ross, and it also just feels like a French Montana song featuring Rick Ross. And I don't really know why this song was on the Too Good to Be True album, but anyways, it's just kind of okay. The beat starts pretty good, but then it just gets messy and stale and kind of boring. French Montana's verse starts off a bit promising, but by the time it ends you just want him to shut the fuck up. Rick Ross just gives out a standard verse, and yeah, just another pretty mid song. Yeah, I don't have really much to say. These singles are just pretty bad. Not a single soul is excited for an album when the rollout is this. But yeah, let's check the artist performance, which is, well, you'll see.
You can ask Dirk, Chirac, L's up from a different nigga. Ain't fuck with me, buck 50 for the verse. Duck, see me, buck 50.
It's kinda sad going into a French Montana album knowing that for sure the worst part about the entire thing is going to be French Montana himself. And before I get into like the worst examples, let me just tell you, like, every single song that has good features, at this point I don't want the features to be good, because if they are good then they are going to be wasted in a French Montana song. You have something like Splash Brothers where French Montana ruins it completely with that verse in the middle of the song. Something like Stand United where French Montana decided to go back and forth with Kanye West instead of giving Kanye his own verse. Like, why do that? Like, do you want people to not like the song? Are you okay, French Montana? But now going into some examples that I have in here, we have the song Casino Life 3, which has one of the most variable verses by French until he just starts singing in autotune for no reason. Like, it's really awful. There are a lot of songs in here where he has really bad auto-tune, like something like back in Style interlude is awful. It's a terrible interlude with that auto-tune. And then we have the song Other Side, side, which apart from having more horrible auto-tune, it also has some Ty Dolla Sign like lyrics about sex and love and all of that stuff. And you know, when Ty Dolla Sign uses those lyrics, at least he has a beautiful voice, not this shit. This sounds awful. Then the song Where We Came From has more horrible singing from French. In the song Goals, he starts off a bit nice, but then he gets melodic, and yeah, French Montana just doesn't work when he goes into the melodic. I mean, he doesn't work in general, but when he goes melodic, that is like painful. And then we have the song Ride the Wave, where he's just super boring. And the final one that I wanted to talk about is actually the outro documentary, because it's so funny to me that it has like a super like happy beat and a really nice Mickey echo hook, but then French just delivers one of his worst verses in the entire album. It's just, I don't really know what it is about him. It's not his voice more than his weird flows that he uses, and his delivery is kind of weird. And I also hate, and I hate so much, his ad-lib. Like, it's so painful and he uses it so much. It's horrible. But even after saying all of this negative stuff about him, I do have to say some positives. The song Too Fun, which I will talk about more in the production part, but this song just has such good production that you kind of ignore that French sucks ass. And then I didn't think that we were going to get to this, but we did. We have the song Money Ain't a Thing, where I actually like French Montana. I know it's super weird. It's the only time this has ever happened to me, but I love French Montana. Well, not love, but I do really like French Montana here. His flow is really good and he fits really well with the production. He went pretty hard with the verse, to be honest, which kind of surprised me. He didn't do it in any other part of the album, but when he did it in at least one song that had a good beat in it and had a good feature in it, why doesn't he rap more like this? This is the kind of stuff that we need from French. Sadly, there is just one song and there are like 20 in this album, so yeah, overall he still sucks ass, but at least I got one good surprise from him.
Shorty wanna see how it tastes, but I can't feel my.
The production in this album is really a super mixed bag. Like, you genuinely have here amazing beats and some awful beats. So let me get started with the positive, because we need some more positivity in this video. I found the beat on Talk to Me to be a pretty nice trap beat, you know, with those dark pianos. It's nothing outstanding, but it's pretty nice. Then you have the song Where They At, which has a pretty simple bass beat, but it's really suited for West Side Gun and Kanye West, so I find it to be pretty nice as well. Praise God has another really great trap beat that I do enjoy a lot. Money Ain't a Thing, as I mentioned before, also has a super nice, more synthy beat. Splash Brothers has an amazing spacey like beat that I really love. And finally, the one that I wanted to mention that I really enjoyed is the beat on Too Fun. This is like a drill beat, but not your typical drill beat, more of those fun drill beats, like something you'd see in the Hillbillies. It has amazing synths, amazing drums. I just love everything about it. The bass is super good, and it just generally carries the song because none of the rappers on the song actually have an amazing performance, but just for the production, this song is one that I go back to a lot. And then from French Montana's verse, it adds like some hit hats and it just makes the beat even better. I don't give a fuck that French Montana is ass, the beat is way too fire. Now onto the ones that I do not enjoy at all. First, we have Made It in USA, which is such a confusing beat because for most of the time it doesn't have drums, but then it just like randomly adds drums for 10 seconds, then they remove the drums, and then in another part of the song randomly adds more 10 seconds of drums. Like, I don't know if the producer was confused or didn't have any instructions, but this is just really weird. Then the beat on Facts, you really have to look at the producers in this song to understand why I really just don't like it, because it has a lot of potential. On one hand, you have the producer for songs like What's Poppin' or Shug, which are both songs with really catchy and fun beats, and on the other hand, you have the producer behind songs like Babysitter or Pussy and Millions, which are other beats that I do really enjoy. You mix both of them and what do you have here? A boring Chinese type beat that is really nothing special for the two producers that you have in here. Just a bunch of wasted talent, in my opinion. Then the song Where We Came From is another one with frustrating producers. You have people in here that worked with The Weeknd on some of his biggest hits. I'm talking The Hills, Starboy, Die For You, and many more, and it's just really weird what they did with this beat. It has like a high-pitched vocals in the background, and to be honest, it sounds like a song that you would see in Geometry Dash. It's a really weird beat that I don't enjoy at all. Then Ride the Wave just has a super boring beat, but again, that song is just a snooze fest, so who cares? And finally, the song Casino Life 3 has a super messy production. It has like way too much. This is literally the definition of overproduced. It has like guitars, a trillion drums. I really don't understand what's going on in that song. It's super messy. So yeah, we have a little bit of both, a little bit of shit, a little bit of really good stuff. A mixed bag overall.
On my head, I think I'm Tupac to watch 400 retail with Bethel got no rooftop. Not bad.
So, to no one's surprise, the features all carried French Montana in every single song. So, yeah, that's that. We have the alright ones like Joe Keogh in the intro. It sounds pretty generic, but it's alright, I guess. I don't have any major complaints about that. St. Jean, I don't know how you pronounce his name, but him in Stand United, he was alright. He gave out a standard verse, nothing crazy. Nicky Echo on the outro is alright. I kind of liked him in there. Then Buju Banton, I did not enjoy him in Stand United at all. I pretty much hated him. And then Jeremiah in Ghost. Holy shit! I haven't listened to all that much of Jeremiah, but from what I've heard, he's pretty cool. He's a pretty nice singer. But this is awful. I don't know if it's just because the production is kind of shit in that song as well, or it's because he has a weird accent, but it's generally awful. His hook and his verse, to the point that when French Montana came in, I felt a bit better. I'm not saying that French Montana is better than Jeremiah, but it gave this track something, because with Jeremiah it just felt so dead. But yeah, those are the only not positive things that I have to say about the features. Now onto everything else. We have Lil Durk in Money Ain't a Thing. As I mentioned before, Lil Durk did a really great feature in here, and even though French Montana is good in that song, I still think that Lil Durk had the better part. Jid had a verse in Praise God. I mean, it's Jid, so yeah, his verse was amazing as always. Kanye West had two verses in the album. The first one was in Where They At, where he mostly just gave out the hook, repeating Where They At all of the time, and also gave a bit of a verse, kind of like he delivered a few lines. Although the mixing was a bit weird on his voice at some parts, I enjoyed him enough. And then he was also on the song Stand United, where I would have definitely liked him more if he wasn't going back and forth with French Montana, because it kind of just ruins it. But the parts with Kanye are good in that song. Then we have West Side Gun in Where They At. Now, I haven't listened to that much of West Side Gun. I know that he's an acquired taste because he has kind of a weird voice, but I actually kind of enjoyed him in here. His ad-libs give out a lot of energy. I really like, hearing Kanye with West Side Gun ad-libs in the background, and I enjoyed his verse, so that's good. Bryson Tiller, I love Bryson Tiller. He gave out a fantastic performance in Fake Friends. Then we have Kyle Rich and Jen Carter. It's labeled as 41, but Tata isn't there, which is kind of sad because he's probably my favorite one out of the three. Maybe because I also really like Kyle Rich, but they were alright in Too Fun. Like, their hook, I love it. I think their hook is great, but their verses are kind of lackluster. Like, I don't really know. At some point in Kyle Rich's verse, like, the beat kind of changes, and I don't know, it just kind of takes you out of the song. None of their verses are like great. They're not awful either, but kind of disappointed. But then I left out the best for the end, the song Splash Brothers, which has spectacular verses from both Lil Wayne and Rick Ross. So let me start with Lil Wayne. He very weirdly misses with his verses, and here he just went crazy over the beat. And Rick Ross, like, I've heard a lot of Rick Ross features, but this is probably one of the hardest ones I've ever heard. Like, I've never heard Rick Ross rapping like this. His flow is amazing, and even though it might not be the longest verse, I enjoyed so much, especially over that amazing production. Honestly, if his verse wasn't the way it it was, I would never listen to this song the whole way through, because you know we have Lil Wayne, then French Montana, and then Rick Ross. But you know, seeing the quality of the verse, I can stand listening to French Montana's verse just so I can get to the Rick Ross part. But yeah, overall, even though there were a few misses when it comes to the features, overall they were pretty great, which is kind of sad because, you know, it's a French Montana album, so you would expect them to be somewhere else. But, you know, I'm not complaining, kind of. Yeah, there's a deluxe version, so let's talk about that, I guess.
They don't rock to the end. And she mad cause I fuck her front. She is a Bobby, but I am not Ken. I'm a gangster, I cannot.
So yeah, French Montana released Mac and Cheese 5 Deluxe Edition, and do you know how many tracks it adds? 1. Is it a new track? No, it's a remix that adds 1 verse to the song. I'm talking about the Too Fun remix, which, you know, already had French Montana, Kyle Rich, and Jen Carter, but now it adds D-Fang, who delivers the most mid verse I've ever heard. Like, this is one of the most unnecessary remixes. I mean, it's still fire because that beat is crazy. Like, you could have Lil Mab or Miles on it and it would still be fire. But it's like, why make a whole deluxe version just so you can add a remix to a song in the album that just adds a mid-ass verse to the song? Like, I really just do not care for this song at all. So yeah, the only reason why I listen to the original one instead of this one is because I don't like the cover of the deluxe version at all. It's awful. But yeah, I don't really know which version I'd rather listen to because I just really do not give a shit about this verse. I don't hate it. I can stand it. It's not a bad verse. I just don't care about it. So yeah, that's the whole deluxe version. Wow.
Maintain, never what you make. Cause even the garbage can gon' get a steak.
Overall, I mean, I came to this with like super low expectations because it's French Montana, and I know that French Montana is pretty ass, but again, the amount of dog shit songs that are in here is surprising. At this point, I don't even know why French Montana includes solo songs because I don't think a single person is going back to any of those. But anyways, it's pretty fun to, you know, see. Out of the whole track list, I only go back to 3 songs. One, of course, Money Ain't a Thing, which is the only song in here that is good in every single aspect. Then I also revisit Splash Brothers exclusively because of the features and the beat. French Montana is ass in that song. And then I also go back to Too Fun, the normal version, because that beat is crazy and I love it. But yeah, it's pretty funny that there's only one song that I go back to where I like French Montana. The only song where I really like French Montana, because it just holds this album back so much. Also, some of the production choices are really bad. But yeah, I'm gonna put the chart right there on the screen. Well, again, I've said this like 5 times already, but I'm gonna say it again. The best song is Money Ain't a Thing. The only song where I like French Montana, the beat is super strong. The Lil Durk feature is as well super strong. And yeah, that's the best song overall. As for the worst song, I have Other Side. Once again, the auto-tune is incredibly painful and the Ty Dolla $ign level lyrics are really cringy coming from French Montana. Like, he tries to be romantic, but it just sucks because he sounds like shit, you know? When there are romantic lyrics, you expect someone with a beautiful voice at least to be singing, like, I don't know, Bryson Tiller or Chris Brown or Ty Dolla $ign himself. But with French Montana's voice, it just kind of turns funny instead of like romantic or sexy or whatever he was trying to do with this. But yeah, pretty ass. Best feature, I have Rick Ross on Splash Brothers. He went super crazy with his verse there. Probably my favorite Rick Ross verse ever. And then for the worst feature, I have Jeremiah. Really weird accent, really slow. It's just kind of slows the song down. It takes forever for it to end, and it's just not it. But yeah, overall, I am going to give Mac and Cheese 5 by French Montana a 2.4 out of 10, which is the lowest score that I've given to any album yet. Congratulations to French Montana for that. So yeah, up next, you know, how I was doing this, I was ranking the albums. I mean, I was reviewing the albums on chronological order, you know, so next up it would be Insano Nitro Mega by Kid Cudi. But currently it's October of 2024 and I'm still talking about albums that came out in February. So what I'm going to do now is start talking about the albums like from the most relevant ones. Like, I don't know, next up I'll be talking about We Don't Trust You, and then I'll talk about, I don't know, Hearts No Psycho, One of One, The Death of Slim Shady, you know, the more popular ones, and then go down. That way, if the year ends, maybe I'll still won't talk about some of the albums that I wanted to talk about, but at least I will talk about the most important ones. Apart from that, I also had planned at the end of the year make a video where I quickly reviewed some albums that were by people that maybe they are not all that famous, or maybe I didn't have all that much to say about some albums, so just make a compilation of all of those albums and quickly review them in one video. So if there are some albums that I want to make a full video on that I don't get to make a video about those, then I will be including them in that compilation. I don't know if you can understand what I'm saying really, but yeah. So next up I will be talking about We Don't Trust You by Future and Metro Booming, so that's pretty exciting. Big quality change from French Montana. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching. This was probably the longest I have taken to make a video. Well, no, because the other ones, the first two were pretty long because I was using the other system, but again, I had so much to say about this, mainly because French Montana is pretty ass. But yeah, we're finally done with that, and yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, you know, like it and subscribe and all of that. And yeah, I'll see you hopefully soon, but maybe not, because you know I take a long time to make these videos. But yeah, that's it. Thank you and goodbye.